When you're talking about the greatest player in the world, a couple of players would normally come to mind. Maybe LeBron, maybe Steph. But that's probably because that's just the two. Those are the two players are probably bandwagon off of. No offense. But today, in our last 2 minutes, we're going to take a definitive look at our list of the top 5 players playing right now in the National Basketball Association. We base this off of stats, the eye test, and the narrative that these players have going for them. Right now, these are the top 5 players in the NBA or playing basketball on this planet Earth. Right now, let's go. At number 5, it's Stephen Curry. There aren't a lot of players on this planet Earth who can lay claim to being the greatest shooter that ever lived. But that's exactly who Stephen Curry is. He broke the all-time three-pointers made record this season and is literally on pace to shatter that and set a new all-time high. But shooting isn't the only thing that Steph contributes to his player profile. Check these out. When you're talking about the best player in the world right now, one thing is for certain: we have to consider the way that player gets buckets. And there's no other person on this planet Earth who gets buckets the way Steph does. Whether it's from the inside or the outside, Stephen Curry definitely is in consideration for the greatest player in the NBA right now at number 5. Moving on to number 4, we have Nikola Jokic. Just because he's the back-to-back league MVP does not necessarily mean that by default he's here. He's actually earned his way on this list simply because, well, the Nuggets have rode his back since the beginning of last season all the way into this one. Despite the early playoff exit, Jokic has shown to be a force in the NBA for the past 2 years, and he does it with his versatility and ability to get others involved while getting the numbers all on his own. The numbers. While being one of the players in the NBA to get 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 5,000 assists, it's safe to say that Joker is a shoo-in on this list, and he will be for years to come. At number 3, it's Joel Embiid. Now, don't let his playoff shortcomings fool you. This year, we kind of projected Joel Embiid and the Sixers to go a little bit deeper in the playoffs, but you know it's a team sport, and a certain former MVP didn't really pull his weight, and you kind of blame it on the lack of strip clubs or the quality thereof in the Philadelphia area. You don't know, but just assume it probably is true. Now, the return of the NBA big has been one of the most enjoyable narratives to follow for the past 5 years or so, dealing with an injury-riddled lineup all throughout the season. Same with the 4th member on this list the whole year. Joel Embiid has not shied away at all from the challenge and would have won MVP this year. But for some reason, the media hates him, and we don't know why. We really don't. We had him winning this year, and he probably needs to get off Twitter. If the numbers aren't good enough for you, there's always the eye test that we're sure will leave you wondering, how in the world can anyone guard this guy? He's athletic, plays with great IQ, and can shoot consistently, and has enough moves to rival that of a player a lot of people remind him of, the Dream, which is probably what he does a lot when thinking of the MVP award. Who wrote this? Rolling into number 2, it's Luka Doncic. Now, there's a big reason why he's called the Baby Goat. It wasn't exactly a nickname that was given to him as a joke. No, really, Luka Doncic is really that. He is the Baby Goat. At this point in his career already, it's safe to say that Luka Doncic has backed up that nickname and then some. Between all the players this season, you can make the argument that only the 4th player on this list has had a bit more to carry. But really, who else on that Mavericks team has a resume and on-paper popularity to be really Luka's main guy? The answer? None. Jalen Brunson has been a great revelation, but inconsistency has hurt him. Dinwiddie also suffers from the same problem, and this is why Luka lands at number 2, because when you're talking about the narrative that supports this claim, winning, skills, numbers, it's amazing how this guy has never been in the MVP conversation, ever. If those numbers look familiar, it's because GOATs play alike, and Luka Doncic, safe to say, is on his way to being in that conversation for years to come. Rolling in at number 1 is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, there are great players, there are superstars, and then there's another tier that people can get to, and it's that they are legends to behold. There are few built like a Giannis Antetokounmpo, and most of them don't play basketball. But Giannis does. And that's the fantasy that has come to life. Now, when you realize that's what we're dealing with, it's really hard to argue that he's the best player on planet Earth right now. If this was Space Jam, he'd be a monster. Literally. But the Greek freak version, I guess. But if you won't take our word for it, here's what he's done this season. And if he is slowly but surely becoming a reliable threat on the perimeter, well, then you have a big problem on your hands, because if you thought it was tough enough to stop him from going into the paint, now you have a real problem when he's pulling up from the perimeter, which is what he was doing all throughout this season, trying to get defenders to not cheat off him a lot of times. Okay? Few on this list can rival the accomplishments and the potential to expect from the Greek Freak, and this lands him at number 1. Let us know what you think of this list, and if you are ready for more amazing basketball content, subscribe, let us know what you think. Let's do this. This is Jeff. I'll see you in the next one.